Hi everyone, I'm Derek Smith and welcome to your Career Connections Moment. So today I want to start with you a 9-part series on the different types of interviews you could potentially face when meeting with an employer. Now, when we hear the word interview, we typically think of the desk, the employer on one side, you on the other, and a conversation happening between the two of you. And although that is one type of interview, which we will be looking at, as our labor market and job market is continually changing and evolving, so is how employers are meeting with you when it comes to the interview. So in this series, I'm going to be looking at 9 different types of interviews you could potentially come across. So let's talk about the first type of interview you could potentially face. Here's the situation. You've been applying to jobs, let's say through some kind of job board here and there, sending out resumes, and there was one job in particular you liked and you sent out the resume, but it's been a couple of weeks since you sent it. You're sitting at home doing something of enjoyment, making a sandwich, watching some television, doing some texting, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call. You pick up the phone, and on the other line is an employer saying, "Hi there, a couple weeks ago you sent my company an application for a job with us. Do you have time right now to speak about that?" If you've not had this type of interview yet, you will. I've had this type of interview several times throughout my job search. So in this series, I want to take a look at interviews from 2 perspectives. Number 1, why do the employers do this with you? What's their purpose? What's their logic? And number 2, how can you be successful? How can you succeed in these types of interviews? So let's cover part 1. Why does the employer choose to phone you? Well, it comes down to something very simple. You're expensive. No, seriously, for most employers, the interview process can be very, very expensive. So what this means is that all companies want to save 2 things. Regardless of field or industry or size, all companies want to save both time and money. And as I just mentioned, the interview process can be very expensive. So how do phone calls make it more efficient for them? Instead of spending an hour with, let's say, 10 to 15 people, the employer calls those 10 to 15 people and spends just 5 minutes on the phone with them. You see, these types of interviews can be very short, 5 to 15 minutes on average. So they're saving both time and money doing that. And then based upon those phone calls, they go ahead and pick those they like. This is also known as a screening interview. So how do you succeed? The key word here is preparation. You see, one of the biggest concerns with this type of interview is that when you send out this resume, it might be a couple weeks since you've last sent it out, and you might forget who this company is and that you even applied to them. So how do you do this? How do you remember? Create a job log. Literally create some kind of log with the company name, the date that you applied to it, maybe some description about the company, and if it's an online job, literally print off the job ad and date it and keep it in the log. That's why when they do call you, you can say, "Well, thank you very much for phoning me. Let me go check my records and I'll be right back with you." Take a look at the log, take a look at the job ad, memory comes right back. Other ways you can succeed. They're going to ask you pretty much standard interview questions. So it's good to know what types of questions are standard for interviews and how to prepare for them. Also, remove distraction. Since you're most likely going to get called, probably at your house, it's a good idea to remove yourself to where nobody can disturb you. Also, be aware that these phone calls can happen during what I call life. I've had individuals get this phone call when they've been driving. I had someone get this phone call while they're putting groceries into their car. I've gotten this phone call shopping, being out to dinner, and you ready for this last one? At my old work desk. So if they do call you during one of those life situations, say to the individual, "Thank you for phoning me. I'm in a situation right now where I can't take this call. Could you please call me back in about 10 minutes? These individuals tend to be very professional, and will go ahead and do that. When I was at my work desk, I said something very similar to that. They said no problem. I went to my car and took the interview there. If you want to find out more about how to be successful in interviews, job search, need some coaching, make sure you're in the right job or how to find the right job, why not come and take a look at To Be Determined? Because the future is still to be determined, so be determined. Until next time.